Sources telling India Today, Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar, a UN-designated global terrorist, met the Taliban leadership in Afghanistan and sought help for Jammu and Kashmir. Sources are telling India Today that Masood Azhar travelled to Kandahar in the third week of August after Taliban took control of Kabul. He met Taliban leaders including Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar. Masood Azhar sought help from Taliban for Jaish-e-Mohammed operations in Jammu and Kashmir. He's learned to have expressed happiness over Taliban's victory and the collapse of the United States in Afghanistan and US-backed Ashraf Ghani government. Now, in a write-up titled Manzil Ki Taraf, or Onwards Towards the Destination, on the 16th of August, the Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists thanked God for the success of Mujahideen in Afghanistan. A message is also being circulated among JEM functionaries at his markaz in Bahawalpur, greeting each other on the victory of the Taliban and urging fighters to be grateful to God for ensuring this victory. And from what sources are telling India Today, his focus remains getting weapons, equipment, systems and support from the Taliban to take this war into Jammu and Kashmir. Joining me on India First for the inside track of that meeting in Kandahar and the ramifications are Francesca Marino, a seasoned journalist, author, and with me is Lieutenant General Syed Ata Hasnain. He's commanded the Corps in Kashmir, keeps a keen eye on developments in the region. Francesca Marino, as always, welcome on India First. What more can you tell us about this meeting and what transpired?
Good evening. I'm surprised that you are surprised that terrorist organizations are congratulating Taliban. The Prime Minister of Pakistan commented that Afghan people actually broke the chains of slavery. So, I mean, obviously, terrorist organizations are congratulating to each other. So my sources tell me Masood Azhar went actually to Kandahar to meet the Taliban leaders, including Baradar, and they were is not so strange if you think immediately after Balakot, Taliban went to Pakistan, asking him if he wanted to be shifted to Afghanistan to be in a safer place. He declined, but some of the guys killed in Balakot were actually recruits to be trained there, to be sent in Afghanistan. And all these months, GM has been providing suicide bombers to the Haqqani network. Now, if you think a UN-designated terrorist like Sirajuddin Haqqani is actually sitting happily in Kabul in charge of security of the Taliban government, well, it is not so strange that all the best of the jihadis around are gathering there, trying to set up their business.
They're trying to set up bases there, but would their ultimate aim be to target Jammu and Kashmir? And let me quickly bring in Lieutenant General Ata Hasnain into this conversation. General Hasnain, the Taliban at this point of time has hundreds and thousands of M4A1 assault rifles, night vision devices, bulletproof jackets, helmets, sophisticated secure communication equipment, and of course 5,000 fighters, not to forget 5,000 fighters including several hundred of Jaish-e-Mohammed. General Hasnain, what does this mean for Jammu and Kashmir?
See, Gaurav, the first impression one gets straight away is Azhar Masood is a doer. He's a man with initiative. 2001, when he founded the Jaish-e-Mohammed, it took him just about 6 to 8 weeks to get his act together. Obviously, he has read the situation in Afghanistan and realized that there's going to be intense competition among the terrorist groups themselves. Not to forget the terrorist groups of Pakistan, the Lashkar-e-Taiba itself and the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan. He is the one who has made the first move. He's got there. He could have virtually, he could have had virtual conferences with the Taliban at this particular time. He's not a man in the best of health. He need not have necessarily traveled all the way to Afghanistan, but he felt the necessity of it because he knew that this is the time when his initiative is required. He must do an outreach. He must get hold of those weapons. He must get hold of whatever fighters are possible. And this is the time when all the attention of the world is drawn here. This is the time to do something in Jammu and Kashmir.
Very, very critical, very interesting. The world focus remains on Afghanistan, and that's the time that Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists are looking for weapons, systems and fighters. Because Francesca Marino, as the Taliban moved from Pakistan into Afghanistan all the way to Kabul, ma'am, they kept freeing thousands of fighters in jails in Kandahar and Kabul and Bagram. So is he looking more for fighters, including Jaish-e-Mohammed fighters, or is he looking for weapons and systems? And do we know what was Taliban's response?
And I tell you, my sources from POK tell me it's been organized a big reception for the fighters coming back from Afghan jails. I have some video too, actually. So a big reception has been organized. List of fighters have been made. Of course, the state was actually helping these guys. I mean, Jaish-e-Mohammed linked guys to with the reception. And yes, they are looking for new people, new fighters, new weapons. And now they are in control. They will be in control. Well, better. Their handlers are in control. More or less. Some group less, some group more. But at the end of the day, is always a big chess game. You move this, I move that. You make them fight against each other, like in Afghanistan. So the world will be convinced of the opportunity to recognize the Taliban government as a government, because they are the good guys now. They are protecting the West from other terrorists, which are actually their friends.
Jel Hasnain, terrorists with M4A1 rifles or night vision devices, and will these night vision devices, lighter, better American bulletproof jackets and helmets, secure communication equipment in the hands of terrorists? What does this mean for our forces at the line of control? Is that where the threat would be? And if so, how soon?
Is that question for me, Gaurav?
Absolutely, General.
Okay, right. Yes, you listed out a whole series of pieces of equipment and weapons. Among them, night vision devices is one thing which is very critical. You see, night fighting capability among terrorists is not very, very usual. And having now got hold of this, and possibly much of it will be handed over to the Pakistan army and to the ISI and to the terrorists or whatever it is, this is one capability that we have to be concerned about. Because right on the line of control itself, infiltration, having infiltrated inside, carrying out sniping, carrying out that kind of action against our convoys, this is a dangerous thing. Besides that, the M4, M16 rifles are sophisticated, advanced rifles. Not to say that the AK-47 was in any way bad, but it definitely enhances the overall quality of capability which is there in the hands of the terrorists. The response which they will probably get, the confidence that they will get. I'm not so sure about the communication equipment, Gaurav, because many times this communication equipment is also encoded. It may not be necessary. We'll have to find out more about it, whether these codes have actually been shared with the Afghan National Army, whether those codes are known to others also at the same time. This is something which will remain a kind of a gray area. If you remember way back in 2001, or rather even in the 90s, the one piece of equipment which used to create a bit of a concern in the minds of Indian commanders was the Stinger missile. Now, an anti-aircraft missile, an air defense missile used against helicopters or used against low-flying aircraft in the Kashmir Valley, in the Jammu region, this is something which is a major threat.
Oh,
somehow
absolutely.
in the subcontinent, we have not had an incident of this kind, but the hands of terrorists could be very, very tempting for terrorists to actually utilize.
Oh, absolutely. And Francesca Marino, these weapons in the hands of Taliban, through Taliban, the Pakistan army, because you were reporting on India's actions, Indian Air Force in Balakot and the damage that the Jaish-e-Mohammed suffered in Balakot. Masood Azhar would be trying to get some kind of revenge. So he'd be looking for fighters, weapon systems and speed to strike back at the LOC.
I would add something. There are reports that at least for the first days after Kabul fell, there's been a constant stream at night of weapons and military carriages going from Afghanistan to Pakistan. So most probably part of the equipment Taliban took from the regular army has been already shifted to Pakistan, God only knows where, in the hands of who. So, there are reports from many sides, so it's not just one person saying it. They are looking for revenge. I don't think it's a matter of revenge. I think the point is not revenge. The point is they have an agenda and they are pursuing their agenda.
They have an agenda and they want to push that agenda. Of course, the Indian Armed Forces, one thing needs to be kept in mind, and who better than the general to tell us that the armed forces today in a much better position in Jammu and Kashmir and the LOC than they were in the 1980s when you had terrorists coming in large numbers. But for the moment, General Hasnain and Francesca Marino, many thanks for joining me on that big story. Now, US President Joe Biden, he's made one thing very clear, that the Americans will not forgive, they will not forget, and they will hunt down the perpetrators of the terror strike at the Hamid Karzai International Airport, where 13 US soldiers lost their lives, 15 were injured. Now, overall, the death toll has crossed the 100 mark. As of now, this terror attack is being blamed on the Islamic State Khorasan province. The Americans have targeted them before. Perhaps the biggest bomb used in Afghanistan, 10,000 kilogram bomb, was used on the Islamic State Khorasan province in 2017. Did that actually destroy terror? Let's find out what are options for the United States. One of the worst terror attacks on US service personnel in Afghanistan. 13 US soldiers killed and 15 injured. The overall death toll, including Afghan nationals and Taliban fighters, crossed 100. Islamic State's Khorasan module claimed responsibility for the strike, and the US President Joe Biden has sworn to strike back.
To those who carried out this attack, as well as anyone who wishes America harm, know this: we will not forgive. We will not forget. We will hunt you down and make you pay.
As US forces pull out of Afghanistan after 20 years, American options remain restricted to mounting either intelligence-based operations or bombing of ISIL bases in the Nangarhar region of Afghanistan. the US has repeatedly targeted the Islamic State in Afghanistan in an attempt to degrade their ability to target US and Western interests in Afghanistan. In April 2017, the United States dropped one of the biggest conventional bombs, weighing a massive 9,797 kilograms or 21,600 pounds of explosives in the Nangarhar province of Afghanistan. The US claimed that the top leadership of the Islamic State in the area was killed in the massive ordnance air blast bomb.
Daesh has sent suicide bombers to attack peaceful demonstrations and have killed and wounded hundreds of innocent civilians. They have sent suicide bombers into mosques and murdered people during their prayer.
In April 2017, the US forces had taken out Abdul Rahman, the Islamic State Emir of the Kunar province. The US had then claimed that 3 other top Islamic State commanders were also neutralized. Following up on the operations, the United States also carried out an intelligence-based operation and neutralized Abu Saeed in another strike in the Kunar province in July 2017. This again was based on specific intelligence inputs that were reportedly provided by a local rival Taliban commander.
The threat from ISIS is extremely real. We've been talking about this for several days. We saw it actually manifest itself here in the last few hours with an actual attack. We believe it is their desire to continue those attacks, and we expect those attacks to continue. And we're doing everything we can to be prepared for those attacks.
Islamic State terrorists are seen as even more radical than the Taliban, seeking the establishment of a caliphate across the region. They have operated in tandem with the Haqqani network, a part of Afghan Taliban, seen as extremely close to Pakistan's ISI. Bureau Report, India Today. The death toll in the Kabul serial blast has crossed the 100 mark. The dead include more than 90 Afghans. 13 US soldiers also lost their lives in one of the worst terror attacks on American forces in a decade in Afghanistan. A day after the blast, hundreds still reach the Hamid Karzai International Airport, hoping to catch a flight out of Afghanistan and get a shot at life.
Grief, helplessness, fear. Kabul is still counting the dead. A day after serial blasts outside the Hamid Karzai International Airport sent shockwaves across the city and the world. Scores of people who a day earlier were looking for a flight out of the country to safety ended up in body bags. A tragic end to a desperate bid to escape.
It was evening around 5:30 p.m. that the incident took place, as I had fallen in the stream. I thought only I had remained alive, and I saw all the other people were killed. There were over 300 dead people in the stream. I had gone there for a visa to America, in the northeast of the airport. There was a very strong and powerful suicide attack in the middle of the people. Many were killed, including Americans. Many were killed and many injured.
On Thursday evening, right after the blast, the city was in chaos. It was all hands on deck in Kabul. A journalist reporting for India Today, who rushed to the site, was asked to help, and it was promptly provided.
This guy is injured in this explosions. You see, I want to go to hospital in my car. This is my car, and this guy is injured in the explosion today in airport area. There is not a place for some injured and killed people. I want to travel and displace these injured people to other hospital.
Friday morning, the crowds at the airport had thinned from a few thousand to a few hundred. The wastewater canal outside the airport that was strewn with dead bodies and belongings was again bustling on Friday. In a country ravaged by war for 40 years, people are clutching at straws. Entry into the airport, however, is nearly impossible.
मैं इस वक्त काबुल नेशनल एयरपोर्ट में नज़दीक में हो। इधर जो लोग हैं लास्ट शाम जो 2 धमाके हुए हैं उस डर की वजह से लोग इधर खड़े हैं और इधर जो सिक्योरिटी लोग हैं अंदर इजाज़त नहीं दे सकते क्योंकि एहतिमाल भी है कि दूसरा धमाका भी हो जाए।
The US claims over 12,500 people have managed to leave Afghanistan on Thursday despite the explosions. The terror attack, however, muddied the situation and could slow evacuations further. Faced with the worst attack on US forces in a decade, the American president has vowed to hunt down the ISIS Khorasan terrorists behind the bombings.
To those who carried out this attack, as well as anyone who wishes America harm, know this: we will not forgive. We will not forget. We will hunt you down and make you pay.
While the US says it will punish the perpetrators, its options are limited. The Taliban takeover of Afghanistan gives all its terror affiliates potentially a free run in the country. The world has a huge new challenge on its hands. Bureau Report, India Today.